I want people to hear this.
The body responding abnormally.
That's a pretty good answer, pretty good answer. Nope.
Dis-ease.
I'll go with her answer. She said dis-ease. I want you to turn with me to page 37. I really wish I had a roving mic that I could get with to you there. But turn to page 37. Are we there? Let's read this together. Up at the top of page 37, that first paragraph where it says disease is an effort. Let's read this out together. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. That's going to be our definition of disease. And my sister gave a good answer. Both of you did. Those were good answers when she said dis-ease. Because normally when you come down with a certain condition, the body is not at ease. So, or even the mind for that matter. So I want you to keep that in mind as we're talking about disease. It is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. Now, if you came down with a fever, most of the time, we try to take something to get that fever down. But you know what the body is doing when you come down with a fever? It is responding to some type of infection. As the temperature goes up, the amount of white blood cells in your system increase as well. And they go out to fight that particular infection. So a fever is a good thing. But most of the time, we'll take something to try and get rid of that fever. So just remember, nature is trying to do its job. But if we take certain drugs to deal with the symptoms, that prohibits or inhibits nature from doing what it is trying to do. In other words, the way God has created our bodies, they will respond if we give the bodies what they need to do the job that needs to be done within our bodies. Okay. Now, I have up here asking you the question, what are some of the causes of diabetes? How many of you say it's hereditary or heredity? Let's see a show of hands. Okay, very good, very good. I want to share with you, we have a saying that we teach. Heredity loads the gun. Guess what? Lifestyle pulls the trigger. Heredity, a loaded gun, if it lays on a table from now for 20 years, it does no damage. But as soon as someone picks up the gun, pulls the trigger, then the damage is done. So keep that in mind. Heredity is a part of the factor, though. We're not going to totally rule that out, but it's not the total factor. Next one. You keep going. Now, question, is it the sugar? How many of you say it's sugar? Thank you. Only one taker? Only one? Two? Can I get one more? Okay, three. Well, they are partially right. If I was giving out a prize, I would have only been able to give out 3 prizes. But I need you all to turn with me in your other manual. It's a book called Health Power. We're going to be turning to page 53. Page 53. Brother Lemon, I'll let you read this for me. Page 53.
We're looking at the section, but isn't sugar the culprit?
Yes.
James Anderson, MD, Professor of Medicine and Clinical Nutrition at the University of Kentucky College of Medicine and a widely respected authority on diabetes, evaluated the effect of diet on blood sugar levels. Just as others had done before him, Dr. Anderson was able to turn lean, healthy young men into mild diabetics in less than 2 weeks by feeding them a rich 65% fat diet. A similar group fed a lean 10% fat diet plus 1 pound of sugar a day did not produce even one diabetic after 11 weeks when the experiment was terminated.
Now, so what was that about the 65% high-fat diet? I need you to give me that one again.
It says that in less than 2 weeks, by feeding them a rich 65% fat diet, they turned young, lean men into diabetics.
Well, what about the sugar, though? Because I don't want us to miss this part.
It says here, a similar group fed a lean 10% fat diet plus 1 pound of sugar a day for 11 weeks, and it didn't produce not one diabetic. So
they went even longer, thank you, Brother Leonard, with the group that they gave the sugar, but they didn't get one diabetic. Does that seem strange to you all? What about the group that got the fat, though? So, our question then, is it the sugar? No, it's not the sugar. What I will say, once you are diagnosed as a diabetic, then the sugar kicks in and wreaks havoc. But for now, we can see that it's not the sugar. Next slide. Is there something in the meat or dairy? And this is where we're talking about the fat. Next slide. You can keep going. I want to read this to you. It just supports the previous statement. And it reads, fast food and fries and burgers, even worse than saturated fats are the dreaded trans fats. Now, trans fats result when you heat any oil to a certain temperature. Even the healthiest oils will produce trans fats. That's why now some of the companies, McDonald's, so on and so forth, they're telling you they're using vegetable oil. But some of them use that oil over and over and over again. And guess what? That same oil, they may cook their chicken McNuggets in. And anytime you put a meat in oil and you heat it, or you heat the meat and the oil itself, it turns into trans fats. Trans fats produce oxidation, which starts the clogging of the arteries. So I want you to see that particular piece there. You can go to the next. Now I want to share something with you. There's a new study that shows eating a meal high in saturated fats, like cheeseburger and fries, can reduce, notice what I said, reduce the ability of the body's good, and that's HDL cholesterol, which is major in terms of diabetes. Because one of the signs with diabetes is also an elevated blood cholesterol level. And it reduces the body, HDL is your good cholesterol, it reduces its ability to protect against clogged arteries. Next slide. But in the study published in the Journal American College of Cardiology, researchers looked at the effect on 14 healthy adults of eating a meal high in saturated or polyunsaturated fats. Your polyunsaturated fats are your good fats, but you still cannot consume too much of that as well. Next slide. This is something I want you to zoom in on and pay close attention to. The researchers found that 3 hours after eating the saturated fat meal, the inner lining of the blood vessels, we won't go with the bottom with the big word, in the study participants showed reduced ability to expand or increase with blood flow. The thing I want you to get in this is that after you eat a high-fat meal, that fat now is in your bloodstream. And when we're talking about type 2 diabetes, that is very important. When you consume a meal that's high in fat, what happens, as I showed you the diagram earlier, and I was saying I was going to come back to it, there are cells in your bloodstream. When that fat enters the bloodstream, it coats the cell. And what it does, once that fat is around that cell, insulin in the blood is like a receptor that opens the door. Look at it this way. See all the doors going around here and the windows. If you ate the fat would seal off those doors. And no matter how much you tried to go in or out, you couldn't. The same with insulin. Once you